In a world filled with negativity, there shines a beacon of hope. Welcome to Spanning the Need, your source for uplifting stories from the Mahoning Valley. We believe in inspiring the uninspired. Join us in spreading joy one story at a time. Submit your good news today. Spanning the Need, inspiring the uninspired.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spanning the Need. Good news stories inspiring the uninspired. Tonight, we have an individual that's given so much to the community, but also has a story to tell. She's been named the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women 2024 Tri-County Women of Impact Leaders. Jen, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and we talk a little bit about this happened. So just in the spring, you were announced as the impact winner of the. Let's kind of dive into what got you there. So how do we let's start talk about your journey, because there's some background that people may not understand of kind of how you got here.
Sure, happy to share it. For some background, I am a registered nurse, and I've worked in cardiovascular surgery as well as oncology for the majority of my nursing career, those two specialties. And in 2022, right before Thanksgiving, I had a heart attack and ended up going to the hospital, being admitted, had a heart catheterization. It showed coronary artery disease blockages through the major arteries in my heart, with the recommendation to have bypass surgery. I ended up having a quadruple bypass done November 28th, and had recovery for about 10 weeks and was back to work. I have a very strong family history of coronary artery disease. Both of my parents passed from it. My father was 47 and my mom was 56. And so I knew.
Did that give you a wake-up call? Did that kind of, I mean, you have past history, but and you think about it in the back of your mind because what will happen or what may happen. How did that hit you when that just all of a sudden came onto you?
Oh, I went to straight denial when the symptoms happened. I knew what it was. I had chest tightness that I never experienced before, and it caused me to become short of breath, and I started to cough, and that led to me getting dizzy. And then I'd say about 30 seconds later, my left arm felt like somebody put a vice grip on the back of it and squeezed it.
And you would know as a nurse, you would know exactly what this is. And you're denying this, but it's like, hey, I'm denying this, but as a nurse, this you would know this because you probably deal with this on an overall basis throughout your career.
I did, and I think before being a nurse, you're a human being, and your first step is this can't be happening, right? And I did the wrong thing. Don't listen to what I did, because what I would normally tell my patients is if you have symptoms like that, you need to call 911. You need to go by ambulance. You need to go to the emergency room to be evaluated. I used to tell my patients that time is muscle, your heart muscle. The more you wait, the more damage you do to your heart muscle. Well, I wasn't ready to acknowledge what that was. So I did what I shouldn't have done. I actually laid down because I was in the middle of doing a heavy duty clean on my house, getting it ready for Thanksgiving company. And so after about 20 minutes, everything went away. And I said, okay, if it comes back, I'll go get checked, which was the wrong thing to happen. And my husband had called me. He was on his way home from work, and we had plans that evening. And he said to me, hey, what time are we supposed to go? And I don't know what made me tell him, because I was going to wait, to see if it happened again. But something said, you need to tell him. And I said, I don't know if we should go. And I proceeded to explain my symptoms to him. And he knew my family history. And he very sternly said, go get checked. So that's how I ended up not waiting any longer. So from the time I had my symptoms till the time I walked into the emergency room, and yes, I drove myself to the emergency room, and I know I shouldn't have, but I did. It was about a 45-minute time span from the time everything happened.
In how does that affect someone? Because you talk about that if you have maybe not particular you, but in general, like the norm out there is that if you have a heart attack, they tell you, like you said, call the emergency room, call the ambulance, get there. But if you were to wait for a pure medical time, what could happen?
You could end up having, permanent heart damage. And once your heart muscle is damaged, you can't get that function back. And that can lead eventually to something called congestive heart failure, which you may have heard of, where your heart just doesn't pump like it should. So that's the whole point with, this coronary artery disease, is to make sure your heart is getting enough blood flow so it can function like it's supposed to. It's a muscle, right? It needs blood flow. And when it doesn't have blood flow, it gives symptoms, right? And because we really don't have a lot of nerve endings on our heart, it gives us the radiation of symptoms, right? Some people, you get this chest tightness. You might get, some people say they have jaw pain or back pain. Some people get very short of breath, nauseated. They start sweating profusely. And it's all of these signs and symptoms. Sometimes it's just one thing. It could be a combination of symptoms that I had, and I'm very blessed. I had symptoms. You see or hear about people that, they were 55 years old and they fell over and passed away, right? And if they end up, investigating reasons why, a lot of times is they had a massive heart attack. And sometimes people's first symptom is that, like, they have a massive heart attack, and that's it. That's why it's so important to follow up with your healthcare providers, particularly if you have a strong family history of heart disease. If you are a diabetic, hypertensive, have high cholesterol, you definitely want to know your numbers. When I say know your numbers, that's know what your blood pressure, is, that you have a good reading of that. Know what your cholesterol numbers are. Make sure you have, good numbers there. And also, if you're a diabetic, make sure you're keeping your blood sugar under control.
Well, and I think that's
all of those things contribute to the heart disease.
Yeah, and I think that's a good example of what, hey, look at this scenario. This is what happened. This is what could have happened. It could have been much worse.
It could have.
And everyone knows their bodies, no matter
right.
what female, male, that, hey, this is what's going to happen or have history. And I'm thankful for that. You were able to have a full recovery and everything. So here's my question. Has it changed you in any way?
Yes. Prior to all of this, I tended to be a workaholic and perfectionist. That's a little bit of that type A
perfectionists.
Type A personality, right? You got to do it all with a smile. And I've learned it doesn't have to be perfect, right? To really stop and smell the flowers, right? It really stopped me in my tracks as far as my mortality that I really didn't have on the radar at that point. I was 49 years old, Yes, I was on medication for my high blood pressure. Yes, I was on medication for my cholesterol. I would exercise, 3-4 days a week. My weight was under control. I'm not a diabetic. I don't smoke. So I thought
like you were pretty much healthy in an overall sense. You were kind of maintaining your balance within your body, right. And it still happens.
And it's a genetic component to it. And with that, talking to my physicians after everything had transpired, they said, Jen, if you didn't take as good care of yourself as you did and didn't stay on top of your numbers, you probably would have had this happen to you much younger. So it's, better way to look at it. I could have been 40 years old having a heart
Right.
attack and the bypass surgery. I made it to 49, right?
Right.
So that has definitely been, I think the change for me is just appreciate the time you have on this earth. Because you just never know. I would not recommend what I did. If you have symptoms like that, please immediately call 911, get an ambulance, and go get evaluated. If you know your body best, right? And if something's off, go get it checked.
Well, and I think it rotates kind of like over. Then a little bit later, you're nominated for American Hearts just for what you've done and what you've been through. How did that feel to kind of get that nomination in that honoree type scenario that hey, you're the Go Red for the Women of Impact for 2024 nominee?
Right. And it was a great, so honored to be nominated. Myself and 5 other women within the Tri-County were nominated. And our goal during a 9-week period is to educate the community about women and heart disease on a variety of topics, as well as raise funds to support the Go Red campaign and support initiatives within the Tri-County as it relates to cardiovascular disease. And I was blessed with an incredible family and friends group that supported me during that 9-week journey. And between our education and as well as our fundraising, I was able to receive the title of Woman of Impact for, the Tri-County for 2024.
How'd that feel? Yeah, I mean, you've been through so much just in the last year or two, and then all of a sudden, look how it's changed you to do almost like a different path that you probably would have never gone through. What does that feel like when you're like, hey, oh my gosh, I just got this? I'm like, and you're kind of like speechless, or were you speechless?
I was. It was a surreal moment, to be honest with you. And everyone was asked their why they chose to be a nominee, and I really had to pause and really think of, what is my why that I wanted to do that. And during my heart attack, my open heart surgery, my recovery, I had so much love and support from my family, my friends, my work colleagues, that I decided that's what I wanted to pay that forward to women that are experiencing, cardiovascular issues that maybe don't have that same family, friends, work colleagues support, to give them, that hope and that love, and to be a resource to them if they needed it. And so that was my why. And so when I stood up there, I was like, I pray this makes an impact, for other women.
What do you think you've gained out of that 9-week education fundraising, kind of basically getting out there, talking about your experience, talking about how you want to better serve them, and what is that? What'd you learn? Because I think at the end of the day, it's like you go from point A to point B, and next thing you know, you're now educating the public on what happened through your personal journey.
Honestly, it restored my faith in humanity. Being in healthcare, you're seeing people at their worst, and it's a very stressful environment to work in. But doing that during that 9 weeks with my team that helped me, just the amazing people that are around me that just wanted to support, and people that would attend our events that I didn't even know. They're like, no, we want to do this. And, just sharing my story, and people really supporting and being moved by, what had happened. I didn't think my story would make, that much of a difference, but I've had people come up to me and let me know that, hey, I ended up taking a family member to the hospital after hearing from you, letting them know we need to get you checked, right? And so that was my goal. If one person benefited from my story, then I did my job.
Well, and we look at it as that you, and what people don't maybe not realize, that you were the American Heart Association's Go for Red Women 24 Tri-County Women Impact winner. It's a mouthful, but the American Heart Association does great work in our community and in Northeast Ohio, in knowing a lot of the people that have worked there throughout the years. And what can be your message to just in general people in public that, hey, the American Heart Association has helped me do this. This is how we can partner together to really make an impact.
Yeah, the American Heart Association, they're celebrating their 100th year this year, which is fantastic.
A lot of years.
A lot of years. And the Go Red campaign now is 20 years old. I'm so glad they recognize that women, are dying from this cardiovascular disease almost at the same rate as men are. 1 in 3 women every year die from cardiovascular disease. That's a startling statistic. And more women die from cardiovascular disease every year than all cancers combined. And I know we have, the breast cancer and the Susan G. Komens and whatnot. And I get that. And yes, they need their support as well and funding. But with cardiovascular disease, issues in women are exponentially so much more than breast cancer. So it really, drove home that, I wanted to be part of that, and having the personal experience of it just made me want to educate, women more, and not only women, but also, the younger generation, right? I have nieces, and I want them to, know the risks, know how to be heart healthy. So it minimizes their risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Particularly now, it's not so much smoking, but it's the vaping, right? And so just really trying to make that top of mind for people, because it's not going away anytime.
You were quoted as saying, taking part in the Women of Impact campaign was a personal for me. After suffering a heart attack and having open heart surgery, I realized the importance of living a heart healthy lifestyle and educating our community about this disease.
Yes.
What's that feel like now? Just what is the path moving forward now? What's your plan or goals?
I'm going to continue to be part of the Go Red campaign with the American Heart Association. And I'll be volunteering now as a mentor for future Go Red nominees to assist them on their journey as they go. But also, if any opportunity arises where I can share my story, I will. And just like, speaking with you today and having this opportunity, the more we can get the people, aware of this, and that cardiovascular disease is real and exists in women, the better. So I'm all in on just sharing the story and just trying to help people.
Oh yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate you taking time. We appreciate what you're doing, and we're delighted that you will continue to work with the American Heart Association and really creating a better life for this, and really making a difference and working with them, because they're a great organization and they can provide the necessary tools to help you out as well.
Agree 100%.
So in just so everyone's aware, she raised a little over $35,000. That's phenomenal over a 9 weeks. So I forgot to throw that number out. I have it right here listed, and I'm like, gotta make sure that people understand how much you raised.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And everybody together with the Women of Impact, and they also nominated 4 teenage girls for the Teen of Impact.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10 of us all together, we raised over $100,000 for the Tri-County American Heart Association chapter.
That's great to hear. And those are the numbers you don't really hear. I think you kind of learn that, hey, here's how much we looked at as an individual, but at the same time, the impact is bigger than
Right.
what was given. So we appreciate
Absolutely.
your support and help to the nonprofits locally, the American Heart Association, what the American Heart Association does, and so we appreciate it. We appreciate what you do, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
At
Thank
the end
you.
of some of my interviews, I like to ask some fun questions.
Sure.
So these are the ones that your answer can be professional or personal. These are the
Okay.
these are probably I'm usually told these are the ones that they have to think about a little bit more. So there's only a couple of them, so don't worry. So, what's your best accomplishment?
Oh, wow. My best accomplishment. Geez, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Could be anything. It could be anything at all.
I mean, it's easy to say, oh, when the Women of Impact go red. I mean, that's
There you
definitely up there.
There you
That's
go.
definitely up there. But, you know, if you want to get personal with me, I would have to say my biggest accomplishment is my successful marriage.
Huh?
It hasn't been easy. Could you imagine my husband's a little younger than me and being told his wife of 49 years needed to have open heart surgery. And he's been absolutely amazing and supportive. And we have each other's back and we make each other better every day.
Okay.
And I would say that is my biggest accomplishment.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. What's your best experience?
Best experience with
Just in general. Could be
general in life or
professional.
oh
In
wow.
life.
Oh wow.
See, like we talk about these because these are things that people don't think about to enjoy life.
Right.
Like you mentioned earlier, enjoy life. You're on this earth once, and depending on who you are and what you've been through, these are
Right.
things I mean, each person is different.
Right. I would have to say for me, I'm going to say my husband and I love to travel.
There you go.
And I think one of my best experiences, and there was a group of us that traveled together, some close friends, and going to Ireland. That was an awesome experience.
I've been to Ireland.
Have you?
Went on my honeymoon. Went to we flew into Dublin, excuse me, and then went to like Saint Barnes, I think it's called, or I forget, out west, and then went to the Titanic area up in
the Belfast.
Belfast, yeah. I can't remember. Boy, I'm talking about cities. So yeah. And the last question is, if there was one person you would want to meet, or persons that you would want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why?
That's a good one too.
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot at all. It's a good question. Past or present? Wow. I think I'm going to have to go past.
Okay.
And say JFK.
Okay.
He was such a motivator. People were drawn to him and his charisma. And I would just, his thoughts on, building a better place, right? And leaving this world better than you found it. I think that's what our purpose is here. So I'm hoping, by doing that Woman of Impact is, you're leaving this place better than you found it.
So great. Well, I appreciate you taking your time, Jen. I appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best in your journey. Stay on, everyone. Thank you for joining us with Jen Knight. We're glad she's here, and we're just glad that she's helping us in her journey and really making a difference in the community. And if you want any more information about the American Heart Association, go onto their website, heart.org, and you'll be able to find all the information you want. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and check us out at spanningtheneed.com.